Welcome to Sonic Seekers, where we get to know musicians on a deeper level and get to hear a little bit about what's important to them and also hear some of their music. I'm your host, Emily Schuler, and this podcast is for musicians and music lovers alike. Do you identify as a music nerd? Are you one of those people that likes to annoy your friends with little-known facts about songs and artists? Do you get excited when someone hands you their aux cord on a road trip? Do you rarely hand your cord to someone on a road trip? And if you do, they really know that you love them? Do people hate playing Name That Tune against you? This podcast is probably for you if you answered yes to any of those questions. It's probably for you if you can't stand small talk but love to have deep and meaningful conversations. Join me as I take a deep dive into the minds of incredibly talented musicians as we search for deeper meaning and purpose in life through music. I'm here with Lauren Woodall, a musician from Jacksonville, Florida. I'm very happy to have you with me.
Thanks for having me. I'm a sadomasochist. I broke my own heart.
She is actually playing a show at the People's Room of Mobile tonight, and I'll be opening for her, and I'm very excited. We've kind of been chit-chatting and getting to know each other a little bit over the last couple of months.
To my own pain, and I cry watching you leaving.
I'm very excited about that.
Why do I do this?
Can you tell us a little bit about what you've got going on right now with your music? I know you have mentioned that you've got an album coming out towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I have an album coming out. I don't like to give a specific date just because I don't want to stress my producer out.
Yeah.
And then I also don't want to give a specific date and then not be able to come through on that. But yeah, so I'll have an album coming out and I'll be dropping one of the singles off of the album soon. Yes.
That's exciting.
The title track to the album.
Nice. Is Joyce Street going to be on the album?
Yes.
Okay.
It will be a part of the album.
That's awesome. So the album is called Desiderium. I've heard you explain the meaning and it's very beautiful. So if you could explain that a little bit.
Yeah, so desiderium is a Latin word, and it's the ardent longing or desire of something that was lost or is lost or that was once had. For me, I know a lot of people use the term saudade, which is a Spanish word. So I kind of went on the hunt because I wanted to use saudade at first because there was just not an English word that could describe what I was feeling, just how sad I was. So I went on the hunt for my own kind of, just because there were so many songs and songs that I love that are called saudade.
And I've never heard that before.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who use, especially in the Latin culture, saudade is a really popular term. And I don't think it means the exact same thing. It's kind of more of a sadness, where I would think mine's more of nostalgia more than anything. And I'm a very nostalgic person. So when I found that word, I was like, oh, this is it.
Yeah, that's how I feel about hiraeth. It's like I don't remember what language it is exactly. Hiraeth. You have to roll the R a little bit, but it is
Viking Nordic language.
I think it's Nordic.
Yeah,
from some Nordic country, but it's the same thing as desiderium. But it's more ethereal. It's like a longing for a home that you've never been to. It's like a longing for home, but not the home that you know. It's from maybe a past life or something that feels familiar, but you know you've never actually been there. So I have a playlist on Spotify. I call it Hiraeth Music. And it's all Viking. And when I take baths or something and just soak and have candles, I like to listen to like Viking music.
Oh, I love that. That's super cool.
Yeah, so that's my Hiraeth music playlist. But that's very cool. I mean, how did you come across that notion or that word?
Google. Sometimes if I'm trying to force myself into the writing mood or the writing process, I like to start looking up words I don't know. I kind of was just on the hunt of synonyms for saudade, and then I think somewhere along that long search, and I was looking up word after word, that one ended up coming up. I haven't gone on any Spotify or Apple Music or anything yet to see if anybody else has a song.
Don't do it
with that name. I'm not going to.
It's beautiful. I think you should definitely roll with the song Desiderium. I love it. I heard it and It's so beautiful.
I'm not okay right now. No, I can shake the feeling of Dacedaria was crawling to a stone claim permanent residence. No, I'm not okay right now.
I just love your voice. I mean, it's very ethereal. I know I keep using that word, but it's just very ethereal, and your voice is nostalgic feeling. It gives me a nostalgic type feeling.
Oh, thank you.
How long have you been singing?
Oh, gosh. So my parents got me, both of them, karaoke machines whenever I was younger.
Nice.
So I had one at each house. So I was doing that always. I mean, what little girl doesn't want to be a pop star, you know? So I would just be singing along with the karaoke machines. But when I was in 3rd grade, I joined choir. And so I did choir actually probably all the way up until a year ago, because I was in like a sight reading choir for a while. So yeah, I did choir a long time, and that's where I got my love, I think, for it.
Yeah, I love choir. Singing has always been my passion. I play guitar. I always tell people I play it, but I don't enjoy playing guitar. I just do it because I have to have something to sing with, pretty much. And choir definitely does bring a love of singing for us music nerds. It's a very spiritual experience, hearing voices blend, and especially I love hearing all men's choirs.
Oh, me too.
Oh my gosh. It just goes down to your soul. I mean, it's beautiful.
Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee.
There's just something about hearing all those voices blend. I love harmonies and stuff anyway. I actually just started school this week and going back to school like Billy Madison, and I'm in choir, and I'm so excited because
awesome.
I haven't been in a choir since high school, probably my sophomore year of high school, which was probably 20 years ago or something now. So
There's no way.
yeah,
There's no way.
everybody always thinks I'm like in my 20s, but yeah, I'm 34. So
You do not look 34 at all.
thank you. I kind of blend in with the students because I act like a child. Like I'm a responsible adult and a mom and all this stuff, but I will always have the soul of a child. So I kind of just slip right in there and blend in with everybody.
I think there's kind of an advantage to going back to college too at a later age, because I think sometimes, at least for me, whenever I went into college, like I don't think I was fully ready to go in full time. I did get the degree, but I didn't get what I wanted completely out of it.
Most people are not ready to take on that kind of responsibility at that age. I think there are pros and cons for both sides, because I think that it is a good time in life terms. If you go right out of high school, you don't have the pressure of having to immediately work and support yourself completely, for the most part, most people, and have a family that you have to support. That's why it's terrifying for me, because I have a child to support and all this stuff, but I kind of am taking a leap of faith. But I also do feel like I'm way more ready now, and I'm more receptive to learning, and I know that I don't have it all figured out. Whereas when I was coming right out of high school, I knew everything. There are pros and cons to both sides, but what kind of things do you feel like, advantages do you feel like you have from getting a music degree? That's an interesting thing to think about and talk about, because my mom, amazing mother, she's always the voice of reason, and she fully supports me doing this. But she was like, what are you going to do with a music degree? And I was like, I can't tell you right now, but I know the answers are going to come. So what advantages do you think you've gotten from going through music education?
I think through doing just a music degree in particular, I think you make connections. Number one is you meet other musicians and you meet other people. I definitely have a teacher who really helped me out with the job that I currently have, where I can teach private music lessons, and she was the reason.
That's wonderful.
That. I'm very thankful for that. So the connections would be the first advantage, I think, to any music degree.
Yeah.
Education, well, that specifically as far as teaching private lessons, I can say I have a music education degree.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned not only music courses, but I also learned how to teach children
That's
and how to
awesome.
it was more so classroom focused, but discipline in a classroom and stuff like that, which can be difficult.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah. I couldn't do a classroom now. I was so dead set on getting music education, going into a classroom. Now I couldn't teach in a classroom at all. But the third one would probably just be like knowing how to sight read and knowing how like read music, and kind of I can learn things I think a little bit easier maybe. Just because
Yeah.
I have had practice at it. I can just read music or listen to something and hear what the chords are doing, or be able to play a melody back,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And I think it just gave me practice.
Right.
And it's like forced practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily like self-discipline. It's like, oh, my grade depends on this, so I
Yeah.
have to do this. And so I think it provides a little bit of obligation.
Yeah. I need that pressure because I was just telling Sam, the sound tech that was setting everything up, there are so many things that I want to learn and I want to have those skills and everything as well. But I'm such a busy person and I don't have a whole lot of free time. But when I do have free time, I usually end up just not being productive and watching TV and going to bed. But to have this, like you said, this forced pressure of I've got to do this because I've got to pass this class. But it's all stuff that I enjoy. I've gotten all my core classes out of the way. I don't have to take a single history or English or any of that because I got all that out of the way a long time ago. But I think having that pressure is really important for some people to be able to accomplish that.
Absolutely.
I am trying to write music for my church, and I typically have just sang and played whatever came out of my heart and soul. But as far as being a musician, I don't feel like I'm truly a musician in the technical sense because I would play a song in a weird tuning and I don't know how to tell people what chord I'm playing because my song we're doing in church, I had my guitar in dadgad tuning, which is my favorite tuning. And I just started playing stuff and I didn't know how to communicate to them what chords I was playing. So I had to sit down with our guitarist and he can figure it out by ear. So he figured out all the chords. We made the chord chart and all that. So just from that aspect, my own personal music, I want to be more well-versed in theory and I want it to come naturally through practice and all that, like you said.
It's a language.
Yeah, it really is. And I feel like music in general is just this universal language that we can communicate across borders, across skin colors, religious beliefs. I mean, it's really something special and beautiful. And every musician I've ever known in some ways has got a very beautiful soul. Most of us are tortured artists and have mental health issues to some degree.
I love using that term. I really do.
But how has music impacted your life? How has music brought you to where you are today? And do you feel like it's kind of made you who you are?
I think music is my only personality trait. So I seriously don't know what I would be doing. It's funny. It's either I'm teaching music to kids, which is my full-time job, or I'm gigging, or for fun and hanging out with friends, I'm going to open mics. That is literally all I do.
I
It's
love
music.
that.
I really don't know what I would be or who I would be if I wasn't.
November on Joy Street is my favorite time of year. Too bad I won't see December. Bet your shirt doesn't stick to your skin, same skin that I wish I was holding.
I don't know where I would be if I hadn't decided maybe even to go to music school, because I think I got deeper into it at that point. I don't know where I would be or what I would be doing. So, wow, that's a good question. Maybe I wouldn't exist. I don't know. In that theoretical world.
Yeah, you just poof, disappear.
Yeah, that's kind of how
Music
it feels.
isn't here. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel really, when people ask me, what are you up to now? Or what are you doing? And I'm like, the same thing. It feels really boring. It's the same thing, but it's different. I don't know what I'd be without music, or it's definitely shaped who I am and what I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be in Alabama right now, like today.
Yeah.
For that reason, so.
Yeah. People who are passionate about music, we're our own breed, I guess. Can you tell me a little bit about your songwriting process?
This is my favorite question to listen to or like to ask, because I tend to write a lot of times when I'm in a situation, when I'm feeling something, and that is the only way. There's only one song, and I'll play it tonight, I wrote where it was like that happened like a while ago, and I was writing from the past, like a past feeling. Most of the time, that thing is occurring.
Yeah.
That feeling is occurring right now. I kind of have to be experiencing something or feel like really deep into a feeling in order to start writing.
That's exactly how I am too.
Yeah, I don't know if I can necessarily, if someone could say, write a happy song. I don't know if I could write, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I could write a happy song just right there.
Yeah.
Not that I couldn't write a happy song maybe, but I couldn't write a happy song right there. I have to be really feeling that feeling.
Yeah, you can't be pressured to write a song about something that you're not experiencing or that you haven't experienced.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite songwriters, whenever I did a lesson with her one time, she talked about how all of her songs, like she starts with the idea of humanity. You have to have a piece of humanity into your music.
Oh, wow.
So,
That's amazing.
Yeah, she described it really, really well. Because I tried to write a song about drug addiction, and that is something that I've never personally had to suffer from and experience. So when I showed her the song, she was like, have you ever? And I was like, no. And she was like, well, I can tell there's absolutely no humanity in this song. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I've never touched that because I was trying to write on something. Not that you don't ever have to experience something, but I was trying to write on something with just no connection to it at all. And I think that's just, I think you have to be feeling that feeling, I think, to actually write on stuff. And that was a long time ago. That was like one of the first songs I ever tried to write.
What led you to try to write a song about drug addiction?
I think I had probably been just listening to a lot of interviews with people that I admired that had struggled with it, and a lot of the music that I had been listening to by those people was like about that story. So it's what was influencing me at the time. Just the people who were influencing me. I don't know. I think I was 17. I don't know. I just had written about it, and the song, the melody was great. Like, you know, the melody and the chords, but the heart wasn't there. That's not something I feel like maybe I'm really qualified to talk on.
No, that's interesting. That's why I was asking, because I was just curious. I've struggled with addiction most of my life, and I wrote a song about it without knowing I was writing a song about it, because I wrote the song when I was in active addiction, and then when I got sober and months down the road, I went back and listened to it, and I was like, whoa, this is about addiction.
Spiral down into the great despair. Seek first the kingdom of nothing, for everything is there.
I didn't even realize it when I was writing it, because it's a very, very dark doom and gloom type song, which I haven't even put actual music to it. I just wrote the lyrics, and like I can sing it, but I haven't written any music to it yet. I was just curious about what would make you want to do that, because it's just interesting to me.
I think I was trying to force an outlet. Going back to what you just said about realizing, I recently wrote a song that I was trying to write the song about my ex, because that's what most of my songs are about. I was trying to write a song funneling that energy through, like, this is about my ex, that kind of thing, and funneling it through there. And I think it all goes back to the humanity, where maybe that was attributing to it, but the song, I actually was writing the song, and then kind of as the words were coming, I was like, holy crap, this is not about a boy. This isn't about someone else. This is about me, and this is about my anxiety that I have. That kind of realization is crazy, because I was trying so hard to funnel it. So really what it might have been when I wrote that song, not the one I was just talking about, but that song, is I was probably trying to funnel an idea through, like maybe I had something that I wanted to write about. I was just trying to funnel what my idea of what I thought I should be writing about or something.
I remember at that age, I was very fascinated and into all these musicians that died or went through addiction. I mean, not all of them that suffered from addiction died, but a lot of the greats that you think about. I mean, Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse, Bradley Noel from Sublime, like all these different
Janis
people.
Joplin's
Yeah.
another one of mine.
Yes. I have the same birthday as Janice
Oh,
and Dolly Parton, actually, and Edgar Allan Poe. So I'll claim those are my birthday buddies.
I don't have any cool. Okay, no, I'm not going to say that. Never mind. I haven't, like, I checked once and I don't think I knew anybody on the list of, like, the same birthdays as me. So
There's probably someone out there. You just got to check multiple lists.
Yeah.
You'll find somebody and be like, yeah, that's my birthday buddy. It just sucks that all mine are like extremely, well, Dolly Parton is not tortured artist, but yeah, Janice was a big one. Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison.
When is your birthday?
January 19th.
January 19th. Okay. Interesting. In music culture, that's such a prominent thing is drug addiction. I was dating a jazz musician for a long time. So I knew a lot of the jazz greats and they all struggled horribly with like, maybe just drugs. I want to say like specific ones, but that was a prominent thing in there, like John Coltrane and I think all of them. I think Sonny Rollins and all of them.
Yeah, I mean, even alcoholism is just so prominent in our society. Even the people that didn't suffer or don't suffer from drug addiction. I mean, I know alcohol is technically a drug, but you don't think of it when you think of the people that had heroin overdoses and stuff like that. But I think that just goes back to the whole tortured artist thing. I've heard you say in an interview that music is how you communicate your feelings and everything. As artists, we have art and music as an outlet, but for some people that are struggling very badly, it's still just not enough, even though it is a beautiful thing.
I think, yeah, and kind of just pulling back to it, I think with the whole humanity, I'll give the example that the songwriter, her name's Margaret Glaspie. She's one of my favorite songwriters. And she basically gave the story when she was younger, she fell and skinned her knee skateboarding. She was saying that maybe within that, finding the humanity is not like you falling and skinning your knee. It's maybe like being afraid of getting hurt again.
Yeah.
And so you have to look for the...
Wow.
Yeah, she's amazing. So the deeper humanity in something, I'm going to say that word. That's the word of the day.
Yeah. It's so important, though. It really is, because at the root of it all, one of the things that makes music special is that people can connect to the humanity in it. I was interviewing my friend Abe last night, and we were just talking about how our culture so much just lacks authenticity, and people crave it. There's just so much in our rat race society, and that is not real, that is misleading, or people performing and acting a certain way when everybody deep down just wants authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of your favorite artists? Like, what's your favorite kind of music to listen to?
I kind of listen to a bunch of different across the board artists. Margaret Glaspie, like I just mentioned, is one of my favorites. I'm a really big fan of the Beatles.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
Me too.
Yeah, and they're such a good example of, they had like no idea what they were doing for the most part. It's so funny. I think they're a really good example of that. The Beatles are amazing. And Esperanza Spalding. She is a jazz vocalist and bassist. I'm a really big fan of her. She's somebody I listened to, and I was like, oh, I want to sound like them.
Yes.
Like, I want to copy them. So yeah, Esperanza Spalding, Joni Mitchell. I really love. I actually just, not recently, but within the past couple of years, started listening to Joni Mitchell. She has some beautiful stuff. Madison Cunningham is another one. She's really great. Oh, and Nina Simone.
Oh my gosh. I love her.
Nina Simone's incredible. I love watching her interviews and stuff. She says a lot of cool stuff, just like how for her shows, before she would play any song, if she was not ready, she would not start the song. Even when she was playing the cover gigs and bars and stuff.
Yeah.
She would just stop herself and make sure she waited until she was ready and the moment was ready and her soul was in the right place.
Wow.
And then she would play.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy. And then kind of the grip and the control she had of the room, like, is just insane. So Nina Simone's another one of them. I know I'm forgetting such important people right now, thinking off the top of my head. Rage Against the Machine. Is another one. I love Rage Against the Machine.
I was a huge Rage fan back in the day. I still am, but the older I get, the more I lean towards Audioslave, which is basically Rage Against the Machine with Chris Cornell.
Oh, I love Audioslave. Chris Cornell was such an incredible musician.
Oh, yeah. That was one celebrity death that really, really messed me up big time.
I actually got to see them 2 weeks in concert before.
Were you at Welcome to Rockville?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I was there too.
Oh, no way. That's so cool.
Oh, yeah. You're from Jacksonville and it used to be in Jacksonville.
Yes.
Wow. I always tell people that. I'm like, I got to see him 2 weeks before.
I do too. That's like my personality. I'm like, yeah. Oh, yeah. Chris Cornell's amazing.
That is crazy that we were in the same place at the same time and we live hours apart. I mean, I know you live in Jacksonville, but still, I don't meet a lot of people that go to Rockville because I've been 4 or 5 times with some friends of mine. We usually try to go every year, but now we're all parents. I mean, I've been a parent that whole time, but they had a baby and life just got busy. We did go last year, but yeah, we didn't go this year because everything was too crazy.
Yeah, that's my group I went with too, that I would go to Rockville with. And now one of them's having a kid, so.
Yeah, but how beautiful is that we got to see Chris Cornell before. That was my first time ever seeing Soundgarden or seeing him in person at all, so.
Yeah, that was my first time. And actually, I almost didn't go. I had a gig that night in Jacksonville, and I was like, oh, it's going to be pretty late whenever I get out of the gig. And it was actually before I lived in Jacksonville. I lived outside of Jacksonville, and I had tickets to the whole weekend, but I was just not going to go. I think it was like a Friday or something. It was the first night of the festival, and so I was like, I might just skip it and go. And then I ended up kind of getting out a little bit earlier than I thought, and so I actually was going to be able to make it to the thing. And I don't think I saw the whole thing because I was like waiting to get in, but I know I got to see Black Hole Sun.
Yeah, we were mostly laying on the ground because they were one of the headliners. So it was very late and we were tired. I was probably drunk. So we put our towel down. We were all just laying on the ground most of the time, but we would stand up and watch a little bit. But I'm just glad I got to experience it before he passed. But do you have a favorite Rockville show or anything? Or what are some of your favorite performances that you saw at Rockville?
I think I went to Rockville for 6 years. I saw the Soundgarden, and that one's just I like to tell people, yeah, I got to see him 2 weeks before.
Me too.
And then I think that same Rockville 3 Days Grace played.
Yes.
That was the first time I ever moshed.
Nice.
And so I was like, oh, so cool. And then 3 Days Grace was also the first kind of rock band that I heard, because that was when my stepdad came into my life. He was really big on rock music, and 3 Days Grace was one of the first bands that he showed me. So
that's awesome.
I thought that was really cool getting to see them. And then I saw Metallica a couple years ago, and I was really, really close to the front.
Oh, that's awesome. I saw them way back. I was by the Ferris wheel because, again, it was so late at night, and I was like, I'm just going to chill back here.
So you went to the one with Metallica too?
Mm-hmm.
That's so funny. We've been in the same place.
I know.
Yeah, we got probably 20 people close to the front. Yeah, we were waiting for a little bit. We didn't wait too much, but then a crowd surfed out on the last song, so
nice.
I got to be right up next to them, which was really cool. So
that is amazing. My son would be so jealous. Metallica is his favorite band right now. Because I told him I've seen them, but I was like, yeah, I was way in the back. I didn't get up close or anything. Festivals, you kind of have to pick and choose, especially at my age, because I'm still young at heart and I'm still healthy and all that, but I get so tired and I have to pick the main ones that I really want to camp out front for. Because a Perfect Circle, the first year that I went, I waited on the barricade for probably 4 hours. I went through several shows. I think Mastodon played on that same stage, and I stayed in that spot. I didn't hardly drink any water or anything because I was like, I'm not leaving this spot.
I love A Perfect Circle.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite bands of all time. And that was the whole reason I ever went to Welcome to Rockville that first time that I went, was because they were going to be there. And then it just changed my life and I fell in love with the festival. But that was my first time seeing A Perfect Circle because I grew up listening to them in middle school and stuff. I would have my little Walkman, my headphones, and be all emo on the bus, listening to A Perfect Circle and Radiohead and Deftones and all that stuff. So
yeah.
And then last year, I think it was, I'm going to try not to get emotional because it's one of the best days of my life. But I got to see, in this order, I got to see the Mars Volta, Incubus, Deftones, and then Tool back to back.
Tool's a good one.
I could have died that day and been totally fine. It was just magical because the Deftones and Radiohead are probably my top 2 favorite bands of all time, and Incubus is definitely up there. I've seen Tool a lot, but it's always a wonderful experience seeing them. And Tool was what ended the night, so it was just magical.
When was that?
That was 2023, I believe.
Was it here in Alabama?
It was at Welcome to Rockville.
Oh, then I went to that one.
Okay.
Yeah. I saw the Tool, and then I saw Incubus, which I'd never listened to a lot of Incubus.
Oh my God, you need to do a deep dive. I haven't even listened to a whole lot of their newer stuff. I've listened to everything from A Crow Left to the Murder back. And I've listened to some of their newer stuff, but I really, really love their older stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're just incredible. So you did see them?
Yeah, I got to see them, but I think it's one of those things where it's like I had not really listened to a ton of them.
Yeah.
It's like you're sitting there and you're listening, but I couldn't tell you, like any song that they did, except for the one song that I think I knew, which is their most popular.
Wish You Were Here.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that might be their most popular. I don't know, but they blew my mind for sure. That is so funny that we've been at the same place.
Yeah.
You were probably at all the ones that I was at. So we've been at the same place multiple times. And I'm sure we probably saw each other at some point, but we didn't know each other. So
I actually had a friend of mine, and we realized, so we had both been to a Panic at the Disco concert in Tampa. This was like long before we knew each other. Like I was still in high school, and we met in college, and we actually zoomed into the photo that I had, and he was in the photo.
Oh my God.
It was so weird. And it was like we didn't know that we had been in the same place a long time ago. Yeah.
That is amazing. Life is so weird.
Alone and cold, thinking of the stars that shine my way when I'm feeling lost and down.
What kind of gear do you like? What kind of gear do you have? What's your favorite guitar?
I have one electric guitar. It's a Fender Telecaster, a
Nice.
Mexican. I think it's a 2017 Fender Telecaster. And usually I'm not a fan of the sound of Mexican teles, but that one fell off the top of the Guitar Center shelf where they hang the high ones. Like
Yeah.
it fell off. So they weren't able to sell it straight to a customer. They had to sell it kind of secondhand off to like a shop, auction it off kind of thing for like damaged gear. And I just think it sounds better. It was like really cheap too. So it was basically a brand new guitar other than that it had been dropped.
Yeah.
And I just think it sounds better. And then usually I use a deluxe reverb amp, a Fender. It's a big tube amp. I like the sound of a tube amp a lot. But at least for the show tonight, I brought the tiny orange amp.
The old orange.
The old orange Crush. So I've just had that one for a long time. My ex gave it to me, so.
Nice.
Yeah. And yeah, so I use my Tele when I can, and I want to carry the deluxe reverb. I use that one because it is a very heavy amp. And I'm trying to think, I don't usually use pedals. I use something kind of important. I use like 12 gauge strings.
Okay.
So I use like pretty heavy strings on my guitar, which I think gives them a better sound.
Okay.
It's just like a more rich, warm tone. I think the heavier you go on your strings, as heavy as like your arms can take.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much
How
it.
is that on your fingers? I guess you're used to it by now.
The tips of my fingers are fine. It's more so this part of my arm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like I have to go get a massage once every month, and she'll get rid of I think it's lactic acid. You build up by using your arm, like tons of lactic acid, like all throughout your hands and your arm, the more you use it. So we'll go through and massage out the muscles there because you have to be really careful of carpal tunnel.
Yeah.
So
I deal with that quite a bit. I struggle with that.
Yeah, that's so scary.
Because I've also been sitting at a computer for work for many years now, too. So there's that, the guitar, some gaming every now and then, playing Fortnite. So the controller, and then the way we use our phones all the time.
Yes.
I definitely struggle a little bit with the carpal tunnel stuff, but I've learned some strategies my aunt taught me. She said a lot of it is this right here, extending your thumbs away. So a lot of times I've started kind of second nature, just whenever I can. Like I'll hold my phone like this sometimes, or with my thumb pressed against. And I have noticed a difference. And sometimes I'll hold my cup like this unless people are looking, because then they're like, what is she doing?
How are you doing that? That's my only question. I don't know if that would stay in my hand.
Yeah, I don't do it a lot, but anytime I can, I try to keep my thumbs pressed against the side of my hand, because she told me about that. And then ever since I started doing it occasionally, I haven't had any issues with the carpal tunnel stuff in a while. It's so interesting.
I'm going to start doing that.
Yeah, whenever you think about it, just do it. Because, like I said, I don't hold my cup like a weirdo unless nobody's around. Sometimes I'll use two hands and do it like that. But, yeah, it's just really weird how little things like the more you know.
Yes. Oh, and I also use a blue chip pick, too. They're like these specific types of picks.
I was going to ask what that is. I don't think I've heard of that.
I think a lot of bluegrass players use them. And they're just a bit of a thicker gauged pick. Like, I don't even know if you call it a gauge, but like it's just a thicker pick.
Is it small, like one of those small, thick ones?
No, I did have a small, thick one, but it's pretty big. I'm trying to think. It's probably that big.
Okay.
It's a little bit sturdier.
Yeah.
And that also, I think, provides a little bit more of a warm sound.
Yeah.
If I'm wanting anything super, not thin sounding, but more tinny sounding, I'll use my fingernail. So this fingernail is really thin.
Yeah. I use my fingernails a lot.
Yeah, I'll use my fingernail. If I want something to sound a little more rocky, I'll just change the pickup over to the bridge pickup. And so it just sounds a little more, has a little more aggression to it than the clean sound of the telly. But yeah.
What are some of your formative albums, either from your childhood, even as an adult, things you got a list?
I have a list. It's called My Favorite Albums.
I need to make a list, because I have my favorite song or artist or album. It'll change often, but I have certain albums that I consider formative for me, that are never going to move from those spots in that category, as like what kind of shaped me musically and kind of as a person, maybe even.
Okay, I have my list. Well, first of all, it's not on here. As soon as you said that, it would probably be, I don't even know the name of the album because I listened George Strait.
Okay.
I used to, when I was really young, would grow up listening to country music. George Strait was one of them. And I think I'm too young to even remember the albums that George Strait had, but it was, Straight Out of the Box or Straight from the Heart, I think.
Okay.
I think it was Straight from the Heart. Foolhardy Memory and like Amarillo by Morning, like all of those like popular ones. But yeah, I grew up listening to George Strait, and then I have Evil Empire by Rage Against the Machine. Love that one.
That probably is my favorite Rage album for sure.
Yeah, Evil Empire is so good. All Things Must Pass by George Harrison.
Okay.
Yeah.
I used to have that on vinyl, actually.
That would be beautiful on vinyl. That one's a really good one. I think the first time I forgot to mention them earlier, the first time I heard Pine Grove, I heard Amperland, New York. That's like one of their albums.
I don't think I've heard of them.
I think you'd love them. They're so good.
I'll have to check them out.
Yeah, so it's Amperland. And I think the first time I heard that or heard them, I was like, I want to write music. Like when I heard that album. Magical Mystery Tour.
Oh, yes.
I had the Beatles. And then Time, The Revelator by Gillian Welch.
Okay. I have not listened to her a lot. I've heard a lot about her as a songwriter, but I really am kind of embarrassed to say that I have not listened to her.
Somehow a lot of her songs end up in horror movies. I don't know how. It just like gets selected for, there's like a record playing and then it starts skipping. There's a movie called, I don't even remember what it's called. Do you watch horror movies?
Yeah.
There's a girl and she's deaf and she lives in the woods by herself.
That was actually filmed in Fairhope across the bay from here.
Oh, no way.
It's called Hush, I think, maybe? Hush. Yeah.
Her song's actually in that movie.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. I need to rewatch that. Did Mike Flanagan direct that? I know that's his wife that played the main character, that she's in like all of his shows and movies.
She's actually deaf, isn't she? I think.
No.
Mm-mm. Okay.
But she did do a really good job portraying a deaf person. But yeah, I love that movie. I'll have to rewatch it and listen to that song.
Yeah, it's like the record skip one where it starts skipping. And then this isn't necessarily like formative. These are like newer ones.
Okay.
These two. It's Ados, which I sound very white saying that, but it's by Lau Noah. She's like a Latin classical guitarist and I guess vocalist, just musician.
Okay.
She's incredible. She released this album that has a bunch of just also people that I listen to. Jacob Collier is on it with her, if you're familiar with him. And Chris Thiele, and just has a bunch of heavy hitters on there with her.
Wow. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, I'll send that to you. And then my favorite artist, which I think you would love, her name is Mally Velasquez.
Okay.
She's probably my newest favorite artist.
Yeah.
The person out of that list that I've just been put on to more recently, Mally Velasquez. It's I'm Green. She only has one album out, but she is so good.
Okay. You should just send me that list.
Yes.
I'll check out the ones that I haven't heard yet, because that sounds all stuff that I would be into for sure.
Yeah.
Do you prefer playing solo or playing with a band?
You know, what's funny is I think when I'm playing solo, I'm like, man, I wish I was playing with people. And then when I'm playing with people, sometimes I tend to be like, man, I wish I was playing by myself right now. I think there's just pros and cons to both. I think, first of all, funding a band, I always am going to pay the people that are playing with me. I'm never not going to pay them. So that's hard because then most of the time you're not making anything. You're actually going into the negatives like most of the time and pulling out of your own pocket. And then I think I'm kind of just leaning towards solo right now. I think I just played by myself for so long. It reached a point where I was like, man, if I continue, I'm just going to sound like somebody who plays by themselves, you know? And I just really wanted to hear my songs come to life with other people. So yeah, I played by myself for a very long time and I got used to it. And it's nice. You always know what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you don't know what somebody else is going to do. So it's nice. You can rely on yourself.
Yeah.
I think it would depend on what mood I'm in.
I guess there is something to be said about, I'm kind of the same way. I don't like to have to depend on people, or I don't like to wait around for somebody else to do something. That's just kind of my personality. But I guess it is good sometimes to kind of step outside of your comfort zone and just allow yourself to maybe surrender a little bit and kind of give up some of that control. But then, like I said, it's hard for me to communicate in a technical, musical way to other people unless they're just amazing musicians and they can just listen. Like I said, my guitarist, just listen to what I'm playing and figure out the chords or whatever. That's one thing that kind of holds me back. But there is something so special to me about the times that I do hear a song that I have written played with a full band. It's like, whoa, this is amazing. We're playing my song for the first time in church on Sunday. And I'm a little nervous because we've never done it before and I didn't even know what chords I was playing.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited. I feel like I'm probably going to end up crying while I'm trying to sing the song.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I love our worship team. I mean, they're all incredibly talented musicians, incredibly wonderful people. I mean, they're my church family. I feel like it's going to be really special. That's the first praise song I've ever written, actually. And it was interesting because kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier about kind of forcing yourself to try to write a song about something that you're not necessarily feeling at the time. I had been wanting to write praise music, and every time I sat down to write something, it was just like, I don't like that. It's like I knew what I wanted to write about, but I could not get it to come out like I wanted it. And I listened to this book called Unlocking the Heart of the Artist, and it's about being an artist and a believer and kind of how to get unstuck and how to use your music in a way that glorifies God and grows the kingdom and all that kind of stuff. And I've been listening to a lot of different stuff, but I think it was in that book that he mentioned kind of how to pray before going into writing music or create whatever art you're creating. I just sat down and I prayed, asked the Holy Spirit to inspire me, and just explained kind of what I wanted the song to be about, more for myself than God, because obviously God knew what I was going to write anyway. And then after that, it just came out of me. I didn't necessarily write down anything at first. I just started playing and I just started singing stuff. And I was like, whoa, I love this. And so I started just writing down the lyrics. And of course, I had my guitar and dad guide tuning, so I didn't know what chords I was playing, but I just kept playing it. And I don't know, it was really special for me and very satisfying in the regard of I finally had written a praise song, and I was really interested in writing music for church. And I just became a believer again a few months ago, pretty much. So I've been overwhelmed with all this joy and peace and wanting to communicate that and do something with it. And music is my language, like we were talking about. So I was like, I need to write a song about it. But it wasn't until I intentionally prayed about it that something came out that I actually liked and that I felt like came truly from my soul, instead of me just saying, I want to write a praise song. Was actually from my soul and from Holy Spirit. So it was really special.
When you're writing, you have to kind of surrender. I think that's the biggest thing, is you kind of have to surrender. You kind of have to let go of that control, because you just can't force anything out. I truly believe that. You just can't force anything out. I forced stuff out and I just didn't like how it was. When I was trying to write that song, this past song about my ex, you'll hear it and I'm going to play it tonight. When I was trying to write it and I was just trying to force that this was about a person, this was about somebody else, it was just not working. And it was so aggravating. And I think I was more under the premise, it had been a month since I'd written something solid that I actually liked, and I was getting aggravated and I was trying to force it, and it just was not happening. And then I don't even know when that moment is that it actually starts turning into something and turning around. Every single time I go to write a new song, you forget the process.
Yeah.
So you're like, why is this so hard? And then you realize when you're on the other side, oh yeah, it's hard every single time.
Yeah.
Every time you write a song, it is so difficult. And it's one of those actual true ones. It's just so difficult. It's a whole process to just get it out. So I think it just takes surrendering, and that's so hard to do.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, I guess we can go into the song portion if you want to. Do you have a particular song that you want to do, or any ideas from our conversation?
Well, I talked about the anxiety one a lot, so I'll probably do that one since I talked about it so much. It's called Quarter Life Crisis.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
I can only push you down for so long. Till you choke the air out from my lungs. I try not to think of you at all. My mind has a mind of its own. Well, I still hold my breath, walking by people smoking cigarettes. My vice is hoping there's something more than you. Picking my nails to my cuticles, they bleeding. Smiling through my rotting teeth to silence a scream. I can only push you down for so long. Till I have no other choice. And I try not to think of you at all. That's proven difficult. Well, I still hold my my breath, walking by people smoking cigarettes. My vices hoping there's something more to do. Picking my nails to my cuticles, they bleed, and smiling through my rotting teeth to silence a scream.
There you go.
Oh, I
Third
love
time's the
that.
charm.
Thank you for joining me on my Sonic Seekers journey. All episodes are currently recorded at Dauphin Street Sound in Mobile, Alabama. Big thanks to them for always providing professional quality recording and hospitality, and a cozy environment for me and my podcast guests. They are amazing to work with, and they have recorded some legendary artists at their studio. Huge thanks to my good friends, the Jollies, out of Satsuma, Alabama, for composing and recording the Sonic Seekers intro music. All I told them was that I wanted something dreamy and shoegazy, and they churned out the most beautiful masterpiece I could have imagined. I'm honored to call them friends, and I'm always amazed at how talented and creative they are, and versatile. And most of all, thank you for listening to my passion project, Sonic Seekers. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face toward you and give you shalom.